thank you for joining. My name is Crystal Olivarria, and I'm the founder and CEO of Career Conversationalist. And parents hire me to help their child transition successfully from school to the workforce. And today we're here to continue on with the topic about 3 reasons your kid struggles to make new friends. What this is your kid has challenges basically communicating, feeling comfortable approaching new people, talking to people. When they do talk to them, they don't know what to say, they don't know how to carry on a conversation, and it just gets really awkward. And then as a result, your child gets lonely, they feel like they don't have a social life, and then they struggle with other challenges in the near future. And so a good example would be it could play out that today your child's depressed because they don't have friends, but tomorrow when your child tries to get a job and struggles to have a conversation with a manager or the person interviewing them, or if they do get a job and they struggle to talk to customers or provide excellent customer service, it can create a huge ripple effect that can create a lot of pain in the near future. So it's really good to think about how to help your kid have social skills, because in business, regardless of whether your kid is self-employed or works for a company, it's all about communicating with other people. People are the ones that are buying the products and services. And so being able to communicate value to them and why they may want to hire you is very, very important. So that's how it relates, social skills relates to having a career. So the challenge is there's too many prearranged activities. And what this means is it used to be in previous generations that kids had to be a lot more active in putting things together. And a great example is sports. Certainly when I was a kid and I hear other people from older generations than me talking about, if they wanted to play a game, they had to go round up all the kids in the neighborhood, see what they were doing, see if they were available, see if they had done their homework. They would have to manage the kids in the neighborhood to see if they had enough kids to play on a team. And, well, who else can we invite, or so-and-so can't come. They had a lot of communication skills, and it was driven in part a lot by the kids. But today we have so many sports organizations, the kids show up and then they play the sport. And I see this a lot too in volunteering. There's some volunteer organizations, like for kids, it's almost like there's two different thoughts. There's the organization where a lot of the adults will turn around and say, okay, we're going to do this activity, and then the kids need to sign up. And they reach out to a local food bank or whatever organization, and they say, okay, we estimate we'll have X number of kids that are going to come in, what day and time, let's arrange the transportation, what do you need done? And then the adults do all the arranging, and then the kids just show up and do whatever they need to do, whatever tasks. So a lot of the kids are being given tasks, and they're not developing the social interaction. Versus other organizations are like, okay, well, if you want to go do something, we're here as, your supervisors to make sure everything's good and nobody gets hurt, and, there's nothing going on in terms of a liability. Nobody's, life or limbs are put at danger. We just want to, watch the group, make sure everything's okay. And then the kids have to take on the responsibility of, okay, what are we going to do? Who's responsible for what? How are we going to get there if we're kids and we can't drive? Or what if not everybody has their license? Who's going to pick who up? Or how can we carpool? Or whose mom's willing to carpool us around? Or what time does our event end, so that we know, like parents, if they're going to like pick us up and drop us off, we need to know what time the event ends so that they can come pick us up. And it creates a deeper level of engagement when students are the ones who are driving the activity in terms of them wanting to be there, them wanting to participate. It engages in they use their communication skills, which is good, because then that's how they're learning their management, that's how they're learning their leadership skills. And unfortunately, a lot of that has been lost. And a lot of it's because kids are on the schedule where they're on the go, 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 go. And adults, unfortunately, we have what's called helicopter parents who are stepping in and doing all these things for their kids. And what's happening is your kid isn't getting the opportunity to develop their skill sets in terms of communication and management, leadership. Your kid doesn't have the opportunity to make friends and see, okay, like who's a true team player, who's showing up and doing their part and what they need to be. Your kid isn't meeting with those conflicts of like who said they were going to show up but didn't, or who said they were going to participate and do this or be responsible for this and they didn't, and who's going to make it up and whose responsibility does it fall on. Interaction is lost when all these activities are set up for your kid. And so your child is actually missing out on the opportunity to develop deeper and more meaningful relationships with other kids because it's the experience, something to remember. It's the memories it's creating about, even when they're hanging out, oh yeah, you remember that one time and such happened and you did this or that or the other. Like they don't have those memories if they're not engaged in those type of activities. And so, having too many prearranged, pre-scheduled events for your kid is harming your kid because it's not giving your kid the opportunity to be a kid and develop these much needed social skills. All right, so the other thing is with social media and video games versus conversations, opinions, and thoughts. And so what happens is when a lot of kids are connecting to other people, whether it's people in their family or just other kids at school, a lot of times they're on social media, and that just requires maybe a word or a couple of sentences. You've got all the icons, the emoji icons with faces and different things like that. So your kid's communicating, but you think about the quality of the communication versus an actual conversation with opinions and thoughts. And so the difference is, when your kid's participating in a conversation online, it's like conversation with exclamation codes, is, that conversation doesn't have a lot to it. A lot of times it's like, oh, that's nice, or that was dumb, or, that was really cool how they did this or that, or whatever. Like the comments are just generic comments. There's not a lot of thought put into them. And so it's hard to build meaningful relationships with people when you're hearing very shallow thoughts that you hear all the time. Like, oh, that's cool, or that's dumb, or that's stupid. Like, what does that really mean? Like, what's cool to one person might not be cool to another person. What one person thinks is dumb or stupid might not be dumb or stupid to someone else. It may not be. It just depends. Is it like a science geeked out joke? Or someone thinks, oh, that's dumb, that's lame? Or is it like a different type of humor? There's different types of humor as far as like something that's more academic or more, what's the flavor I want to call? Like a play on words or puns where someone's enjoying the conversation versus maybe if it's humor that's more uh, obscure or gross or has a different flavor to it. So, it's hard to get to know people, who they are and what they're about if they're just making these little shallow comments versus during the conversation actually talking about that show episode. And one of the things I find is interesting is like I'll talk to a kid and I'll be like, so what do you do? Like, what's your hobby? Oh, I play video games. Okay, well, what video games do you play? And they'll say the name. Okay, well, why do you like that? Is that your favorite like genre of video games? Oh, I don't know. It's just cool. Cool about it. Like, what do you like? How many hours do you play a day? What's your favorite tool or weapon to use when you're playing that game? What's your favorite character? How did you dress up your character? What kind of adventures do you like to go on? Tell me about the different bosses and the different levels that you like to fight. And it's interesting because even though I'm meeting them on their level and having a conversation about what they're interested in, I feel like I'm often carrying the conversation. And so for me, it's like, really? Like, do I really want to talk to you if I'm carrying on the conversation? And so I imagine that's how other kids are feeling when they're talking to your child and your child's just giving these short little one-word answers. That's cool. I like it. I like fighting games. Fighting games are cool. Versus when I talk about video games, granted, I'm a different generation, so I grew up with Mario Brothers. I'm talking about some of the challenges of, it's great when you're playing a video game and you can tell that you're getting further and further along, so you're excited and you want to get to the next level. And so that mistake you make when you ask someone who's better than you, hey, can you help me get over this one level? And then they end up taking over the remote in the entire game. And you're like, can I have it back? And they're like, no, like, let me do this for you. Let me do this for you. And you're like, no, I just needed your help for that one part. And then you get into an argument because they're like, well, if you couldn't get over this level, how are you going to fight the boss? It's like, I know you're right, but that's not the point. At least I want the opportunity to fight the boss. Like, at least I've tried that level like 5, 10 times and I'm sick and tired of it. I want at least a new challenge. Let me get a few steps ahead and like practice fighting the boss, even if I don't realistically expect to win. At least I'm not doing the same level over and over again. And so for me, when I have that conversation with someone else who's my age, who plays the same video games, they connect. They're like, oh yeah, I had that challenge too. Sometimes kids, they just, like, even though we're talking about video games, it's almost like two different generations, two different levels of conversations. Because when I played video games, a lot of times we didn't play online. It was, you had a box, and so you couldn't comment to other people, and that was a type of gaming that came later on. And so a lot of times when I had video game conversations, there were actual conversations. It was like going back and forth with these conversations versus one word, yeah, cool, no, sucks, awesome, cool, get that. It's just a very popcorn conversation. It's not a real conversation. So when kids are offline and in person, a lot of times they take the conversation, the style of talking that they might have when they're online, and they take that offline, and then they have trouble communicating. And sometimes they lose out on the real conversations. And again, they don't actually get to know people, because then you're not connecting those bridges and those gaps to actually connect with people in a meaningful way. Or to say, I know how you feel, I feel like that too. Or I used to feel like that until I became, really good video game player, and now people ask me to help them get to the next level, and I struggle to give the remote back. So the third point is little to no quality interaction. And so everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but many people think of a conversation as a bunch of words going back and forth between people. And quality, it's kind of like time. When you spend time with your kid, are you spending time with your kid, or are you spending quality time? Same thing goes with conversations. Are you having a conversation, or is it a quality conversation? And so a lot of times what a quality conversation is it has to do with something that your child's engaged in that gets them thinking and expressing who they are, what their hopes and what their dreams are. And you might be having a challenge having that conversation with your kid, because a lot of parents will say, how do I get my kid to talk to me? Like, they're not telling me their general concerns. So how do we even have a conversation about their career? Like, how do I even pivot that? Like, I'm just struggling to have a conversation with my kid. And I want to say, if that's the challenge you're having, then it has to go back to look at the relationship you have with your child. Like, in the beginning, when your child's younger, it's easy to give them a lot of attention because they need that attention when they're younger. And people think, oh, well, when they get older, they become these rebellious teenagers. That's not been my experience with the kids that I've worked with. I work with teenagers and young adults, and it's actually that they're craving quality time. And so it goes back to, well, what is quality? And I think a lot of it has to do with listening. Like, I'm a really good listener. And so kids open up to me. It's amazing. Like, these kids will come up to me. I don't even know them. Like, I'll be following up with them about career coaching. For example, the parent's like, yes, I'm interested. My major concern is that my kid may not want to do it because whatever, blah, 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 whatever head trash they have going on. And so I'll get on the phone with their kid. I'm like, okay, just let me talk to him, tell him what the program is about, and at least give them the option. And I'll ask them, like, what are your roadblocks? And you'd be surprised how many kids will just automatically open up and be like, I've tried and tried and tried, and I just feel like a failure. Like, I'm ready to give up. I'm in this downward spiral. I have trouble with my emotions. I don't know what to do. I've applied to internships. I've applied to jobs. My parent keeps telling me I should try, and I have, and it's not working out for me, and I don't know what to do. And it's like, wow, like, the kid has a lot on their mind. And then you ask them, like, well, what have you done? Like, you say you keep trying. What does that mean? What does that look like? Explain it to me. And having a kid go like I had a kid say, okay, well, I've done my resume online, and I've walked around to all the stores near my house, and I went in and I talked to the managers, and they say, yes, they're going to look at it. And then sometimes I don't know if they really are or not. It's like, you want to believe people, but at the same time, you're like, I've had so many people tell me that, and I haven't had a lot of calls come back. So are all these people lying to me? Do I want to keep like having these conversations with people who are lying? Like, what's going on? And so a lot of times kids don't understand like liability issues, and why they might say like, oh, okay, we'll put it on the file, or if we have some job positionings coming up, we'll be sure to look at it. Like, sometimes managers are just really busy and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it. So technically they're not lying, because if it's in their hand, they are looking at it, or some managers will be like, oh, we do everything online, but thanks for coming in. I mean, there's just a lot going on in the employment world. And so I know that I've had a lot of managers tell me that they like it when someone comes into their store because then they can see how they represent themselves. Are they well dressed? Are they well mannered? Are they polite? Are they friendly? Do they smile? Store managers find it better for applicants to come into the store. But a lot of times HR might be pushing people to go online because it's an easier system to just filter everything through. And so the kids are like they don't understand like HR and all this stuff, so they don't get it. Like there's this huge gap in their head between what's going on, and so if they're not being successful, they fill it in with head trash, like, oh, I must not be that good, or something's wrong with me. And they don't want to tell you that as a parent, like, oh, I think something's wrong with me, like I want a job and you keep telling me how to help me, and like, and it's not helping. And kids, they don't know how to have that conversation with you. They don't, of course they don't want to talk to you, which is why a neutral third party is always good as far as a career coach. But you can do to have a conversation with your kid to help them think forward about their career. And if you're not sure what that conversation is, then you might have the same kind of challenges that your kid's having. So for example, if you walk up to your child and have a conversation, be like, so what do you want to do? Like as a career, what college major are you thinking of? Your kid says, well, I don't know. And then you get that awkward pause, like, okay, so as a parent, I just approached my kid trying to have a quality conversation. And there's an awkward pause. I don't know what to say because I feel like I'm the parent. I should be guiding my child, but I really don't know what they're passionate about or what they're thinking about, or like, what do I say now? So quality conversations can be difficult. It's not just about trying. Sometimes you need tips and tools to help you out. And that's where I come in. Would you be interested in a list of questions to help keep that ongoing conversation so you don't have an awkward pause? If that's something you would like, then I happen to have a complimentary gift for you. So it is 7 ways to help your child select a relevant career, regardless of what age your child is. And you can collect your complimentary gift at 7waystohelp.com. And what it is it's a 1-page downloadable document with 7 questions that you can continuously use over and over again. They're great questions. It'll help you out regardless of what stage of life your child is in. And just continue to ask the questions over and over again. And as your child becomes older and moves up in their career, you'll be amazed how asking the same question, just even a couple weeks or a couple months apart, will get you very different answers. But it's all about having a quality conversation with your child to get them thinking, to get them responding. And that's how your child's going to feel seen, loved, and heard. And that's what's going to help your child develop their communication skills so that they can have friends, so that they can communicate with other people during interviews. And that's really what I'm seeing coming up is kids without social skills are struggling the most when it comes to going after their dreams and something they want. So that's why I encourage you as a parent to do what you can by helping your child have conversations and having a more meaningful, loving, full relationship with your child. So please go to 7waystohelp.com, collect your complimentary gift, and then you'll also be on the newsletter that I send out electronically. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and I look forward to our paths crossing again soon.